Officers, hear me. I know most times you get a general shots fired call in a neighborhood. It's just a cleared call and a piece of cake. But this video is a reminder of why you gotta take it serious. Hi everyone, welcome to today's goofy, crazy doozy of a badge cam. I'm your host as always, John Correa.
I'm your co-host, Mike Williver. Today's video comes to us from Houston, Texas.
LuckyGunner.com is my go-to resource for in-stock, fast shipping ammunition. Whether you're looking for rifle ammo, handgun ammo, rimfire ammo, or shotgun ammo, go to LuckyGunner.com for the best place on the internet to find it all in stock and ready to ship. They have stood by us all in this ammo pandemic, giving us great education via their YouTube channel and their ballistic testing as well. Go and check them out and find great ammo ready to ship at good prices.
Call has come in that somebody has fired some shots in this apartment complex. Officers are responding. We have multiple badge cams. It's gonna get crazy in a hurry. Let's listen in.
Oh shit. Get it. Hello? Shots fired! Shots fired! He came to the door with a gun. The door. Hey, 16 cover.
36 there, roll there, I'm gonna shot this way. 6 mile. Hey! Drop your gun! Drop your gun! Drop your gun! Drop your gun! Get over here! 20 Joe, 36. Step backward, step to me. Hey. Step to me. Go back. Turn around. Alright, you're gonna wind around. Hey.
That's him. On the ground, on the ground. On the ground.
Hey, lay on the ground.
On the ground.
Lay on the ground.
On the ground. Put your hands out.
I carry my chest, I have a bad heart. Lay on the ground.
Lay on the ground.
I have a bad heart. Well, you shouldn't come out with the gun like that, son, man. You can't buy your back.
It's my gun, man. You follow me. Almost shot me, man.
What's that, man?
I think I got grazed.
You got grace?
Yeah.
You almost shot me, man.
Hey, go out the way.
Came to the door with
He came to the door. 36 shot fire. We're at 297. No one set for the spine. Uh, 36, go ahead and roll the ambulance out this way. So smile. Hey! Drop your gun! Drop your gun! Drop your gun! Drop the gun! Get over here! Step backward! Step backward! Step to me! Step to me! Turn around! Turn around! I said to turn around!
They just came in and unloaded in my apartment.
Turn around! Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
I called 911.
Lay down flat on the ground!
I called 911.
Hey, lay on the ground. Listen to what I'm telling you. Lay on the ground.
I called 911.
Put your hands up.
I carry my chest, I have a
Hey,
bad heart.
lay on the ground.
I have a bad heart.
You saw that the officer took a little bit of spall to the elbow. That was the only hit there. It wasn't actually around. It was like, some ricochet fragments or something. None of the officer's shots hit this weirdo. Our Mensa member here, though, is facing a significant number of charges for what he did in firing at an officer. He just literally opened the door and fired at him. We'll get to see it when we break down the lessons. You know, I wonder if that guy's Mensa membership got revoked.
Probably. What's with people coming to the door with guns lately? This is like 2 in a row.
Hi, don't do that. You know, Mike, I think if I had one complaint about this whole thing here, It's that given that we had a call of shots fired and somebody menacing with a gun in the apartment complex, these guys are pretty nonchalant.
Yes, some more chalants would be in order, I think, for sure, considering the nature of the call. I'm guessing that what they were doing as we first opened the scene from this body cam is maybe looking for spent shell casings or whatever. But we most definitely wanted to talk about the dog in this video. See where you've stopped the video here. I got to tell you, I was always the one that went to deal with the dog. They said, go gauge the dog. And I could usually tell if the dog meant business, like it was going to bite you if you jumped a fence or whatever. Or was just doing his job, you know, bark, 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 bark. This is what I do. I'm a big, scary pit bull. And you could tell they didn't really mean it. And I think this cop has that sixth sense as well, I'm guessing.
And really great work by him. I mean, again, I just want to see, for the vast majority of time, cops are good people. They're not trying to kill your dog. They don't work for the ATF or any of that stuff, right? And you know, and obviously, you know, you end up shooting a dog or something like that. It ruins everybody's day. And this is a bad thing. And they see this pupper just doing his job. And I think that shows, again, they're trying to investigate, see what's going on. Did somebody actually shoot here? You know, was that a spurious thing? Because, you know, people can you know, swat folks and stuff like that. But now watch what happens here again in a very brief moment of time. Our dude just opens the door and starts shooting and shoots one shot. So I guess he doesn't start shooting, he shoots once. And I know some people are going to say, Mike, oh, you know, he has every right to have a gun in his apartment. That's fine, whatever. No, he just comes out shooting. And listen, if you don't know what the heck is going on outside your apartment or you're worried about that, it's time, dated pop culture reference coming. It's time to do Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood and not open the door and say, who is it? Rather than come out guns a-blazing. What the heck?
Yeah, you know, we always try to predict what the comments will, you know, what they'll sort of land on as a critique of our breakdown. And usually someone in their own home with a gun will always cause people's hackles to go up. And I understand why. Certainly, you know, you don't want the police, you know, shooting everybody who's in their own home with a gun. But look, if someone comes to your door, you don't know who it is. You know, look through the peephole, look through your Ring camera or whatever, and say, hey, who is it? If they say it's the police and you don't see them or you don't believe them or whatever, hey, you can call your local police department and be like, hey, I got guys here telling me they're the police. Are they the police or not? And they'll tell you, yeah, they are. Then you can feel safe that it's the cops and not some ruse or something else. So coming out of your door with your gun up, I mean, obviously this guy wasn't just your typical Second Amendment enthusiast. You know, he had some sort of issue that day. He had a break or something and thought this was the best idea.
Yeah, and listen, the officer hadn't even knocked on the door. So it's not like, you know, there's any of those kind of things. This guy just comes to the door shooting. And now I do want to commend the officer. Watch how fast his gun gets out of the holster here. You know, this guy's like Lando Calrissian here in Star Wars. It's a multiple dated pop culture reference day here, you know, and The Empire Strikes Back. He sees Darth Vader and starts shooting. This guy, 3/4 of a second, Mike, and his gun is out of the holster and shots downrange. Now, normally I'm going to say, hey, I really want you to put two hands on the gun. The reality is sometimes if you got other stuff in your hand, whatever, you got to just get that gun out there and get a wall of lead heading downrange. And it looks like that's what happened here.
I don't have time to, excuse me, I don't have a ton to add to that, actually. You kind of said it all, but I do want to reiterate the quickness of the draw. This is what we're talking about. John and I will frequently mention that police on a police duty gear, not an undercover cop, obviously, but police on duty in duty gear with a big old bucket ALS holster on their side. Your draw should be something like this fast. My draw was this fast. I guarantee you Neil or John drawing from one of those would be this fast, a little bit of practice. I showed this video to my son before John and I sat down, and that was the first comment he made is, man, that draw was lightning fast. Cops, officers, deputies, agents, you need to have a quick draw when you're geared up. It needs to be very important to you because in this case, he needed to get that gun out. There was nowhere really to go and hide. There was nothing to hide behind. He had to get the gun out. And as John said, use that as your cover, a wall of lead. That's what he did. And it proved very effective.
It really was effective. He did a very fine job of that. I love that they reposition, you know, get back, slow your roll, see what the heck is going on. I will say here, as our officer, you know, we talk about the follow-up actions after a shooting. He probably needs a proactive reload here. He also needs, the guy took a shot at him and he needs to do an injury check. And I think that's kind of part of some of the nonchalance here, that we didn't see those follow-up actions be taken in an intentional manner. And that's something I'd really work on.
Yeah, that's the problem is frequently people are shot. You can ask combat vets and some cops that have been shot in the line of duty. frequently they won't realize it. They're, the actual action of someone shooting at them and them shooting back has gotten their adrenaline higher than it's ever been in their entire life. And that adrenaline is a hell of a drug, and it can actually mask the pain for a significant amount of time. So you might be shot and not know it. So the minute, if you're in this position as a private citizen or an officer, the minute you have the downtime and time and distance and safety to do it, start checking. Take your vest off. Look under your belt. Make sure you don't have any extra holes in you, because you can have an extra hole and not know it.
And I think that's really one of the big lessons here too, because that kind of nonchalance carries on. So they get the perp in cuffs. He's dropped the gun. Great. Okay, fine. Situation's okay. But there's been shots fired our way, and this officer here, who still has a gun in his hand when he doesn't need it, quite frankly, is just kind of like, oh yeah, you took a little something there. When what we really need to be doing is a blood check. And whether that's you want to put on gloves or whatever, but hey man, I want to get your vest off real quick, make sure you're okay, and make sure that one of us didn't take a bullet here, because somebody might not know it. And listen, if we're wasting precious seconds, that could be seconds that somebody dies. Now in this case, no harm, no foul, right? He's got a little scratch. All right, man, whatever. The ambulance is going to come and check it out and put a Band-Aid on your boo-boo. And that's okay. And thank God that's all that happened here. But I really think, especially if we treat every single evolution like this as an opportunity to train, it gives us a little bit more hope for when things don't go so well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is where, stop the bleed training and tourniquet application training, also sort of thing comes into play, so that you're in that mindset. Now, it could be just a byproduct of working as a police officer in Houston. This guy looks like he's about my age, maybe, más o menos, and he's been on the job for a long time, and he has just had his resilience, or what am I looking for here, John? The being inured to violence and violent behavior is just to the point where he's like, it's another, it's just Tuesday in Houston. My partner got some spall from a guy who shot at him. Just happens all the time, and you can't let yourself get quite that far to the point where you're just like, whatever. You need to keep that edge. Let's talk about this radio, John. You and I discuss this all the time. We talk about it here in this space all the time. You've got, first of all, it's a very old radio. Second of all, you need to have some sort of external mic. I don't want cops picking their big giant radio up off their belt, especially when we've just had a shooting to have to communicate. He should be able to go here, with a pork chop mic or a surveillance mic, or here or something, so that he's in this fight. And otherwise, if he has to draw his gun right now or do something else, he has to drop that radio, and it's going to stay where it is. It's suboptimal.
Yeah, it is suboptimal, but maybe it's nostalgic. He used that during security at Houston Oilers games back in the day or something like that, because God, that thing's got to be 30 years old or more. He does get to a pretty good spot here where he's got a little bit of cover, and I think that was a really good thinking. Okay, fine. You got 3 cops there. Win the fight with who you got. Okay, calling the cavalry in, great, fine. But you need to figure this problem out, and you got a dude with a gun in his hand coming out of the apartment you need to deal with. Now, I will say, I think he showed great restraint here that, this guy still has a gun in his hand at this point. He's shot at the cops. If he had shot him, I would have zero problem with it. I haven't had a chance to talk to this officer, so I don't know if he's thought, he's not pointing it at me. We're in a safe place, so I have a minute to give him a command or something. But man, I really think, hey, probably it would have been perfectly okay, and maybe even smarter to probably put some rounds in this guy.
Almost certainly that's what I would have done. Most cops that I know would have done exactly that. I can't tell from my screen isn't as good as John's. I can't see the gun, but I'll take your word for it. He could see there's a gun in his hand. This guy just shot at you. There's no way he doesn't know you're the police. He opened the door, and it takes the brain a 100th of a second to recognize, okay, badge, uniform, duty belt, cop. He shot anyway. And now he's coming out with a gun in his hand. His intentions have been made extremely clear. So at this point, I have no problem with him starting to put lead on this guy. Carefully, obviously, because your backstop's atrocious, but start putting rounds on this guy to put him down, because the odds of him coming out here and dropping his gun and doing what he did are so slim. I'm glad he did. It's all as well as it ends well, but this could have ended really poorly.
And you can obviously hear, when you were listening to the badge cam the first time through, this guy's like, hey man, these guys just showed up and started shooting in my apartment. Well, that's because you opened the door with a gun and shot at him, dude. So clearly this guy's non-compass menace. He's like, hey, what the heck is going on? And he's facing menacing charges and aggravated assault against a police officer, charges and all these things, okay? And he should. I do want to commend these officers for restraint. I think they did a fine job. I think the officer who was shot at was rocket fast with his gun. I think he did an excellent job of getting his gun in the fight. A few follow-up things and a few nonchalance things that maybe we, if we've been inured to violence, as Mike likes to say there, that maybe we ought to think about uninuring ourselves a little bit so that we have a little bit more arousal, a little bit more kind of, thinking through some of this stuff. But in an overall sense, hey, no harm, no foul. These officers covered their ass.